Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to be breaking down a truly terrifying and frankly tragic sequence of events that recently unfolded in a residential building in Noida. We always think of our homes as our ultimate safe havens, right? And our vehicles are just everyday conveniences. But what happens when new technology intersects with densely packed living spaces in a completely unexpected and catastrophic way? Today, we're looking at the hard facts surrounding a severe fire in Sector 66, extracting the data directly from ground reports to figure out exactly what went wrong.
So let's dive right into this. How does a totally normal Wednesday afternoon in Sector 66 suddenly turn into a desperate fight for survival? You know, this happened in Mamura Village, which falls right under the Phase 3 police station area. We're talking about a standard 4-story residential complex, what's often called a G4 building. People were just going about their daily routines, totally unaware that a chain reaction downstairs was about to trap over 100 families inside their own homes. The sheer terrifying speed of this disaster is exactly why we need to analyze it today.
All right, Section 1, Deadly Spark in the Parking Lot. To really wrap our heads around this tragedy, we've got to look at Ground Zero, which in this case is the building's ground floor parking area. The physical layout here played a huge role in the disaster. Based on the reports, it all started with Step 1. An electric scooter, an EV, was left on charge in that parking lot. Then Step 2 happens. A sudden spark erupts in the vehicle's battery. But of course, it didn't just stop there. Step 3 is where things critically escalate. The flames from that EV rapidly jump to nearby petrol vehicles parked right next to it. So suddenly, you don't just have a localized electrical fire. You've got highly combustible fuel adding intense heat to the blaze. And finally, Step 4, which is honestly the most devastating part. The toxic smoke generated by the burning batteries, plastics, and petrol began to aggressively funnel upwards right into the residential spaces.
Moving on to Section 2, the unseen killer, toxic smoke.
Let's shift our focus away from the actual flames for a second and look at the single most critical factor here. As that fire grew on the ground floor, over 100 families living in this tightly packed 4-story building suddenly found themselves completely trapped. The fire essentially cut off the primary exit route, leaving well over 100 people stranded as the situation down below just kept getting worse by the second.
Obviously, authorities realized the massive scale of the danger right away. They immediately deployed 7 fire brigade vehicles straight to the Mamura Village location to battle the blaze. Add in the chief fire officer and a heavy local police presence, and you can really see the severity of the inferno they were up against. They weren't just fighting a fire, they were absolutely racing against the clock as trapped residents panicked up above.
But tragically, even with that massive and rapid response, the incident claimed the lives of 2 individuals, a man and a woman. The reports detail that their conditions deteriorated incredibly fast because of the toxic environment created by the fire, and both were later declared dead at the hospital. On top of that, another woman suffered severe burn injuries and had to be rushed to the district hospital in critical condition.
So here's the really crucial takeaway from all this. The actual villain responsible for the fatalities was the rapid spread of poisonous smoke, not necessarily the direct flames themselves. It's like the structure of the building acted as a giant chimney. Those intense, toxic fumes from the burning EV battery and the petrol vehicles bypassed the ground level and aggressively pushed up into the first floor and beyond, literally seeping right into people's homes. It was that suffocating environment that ultimately cost 2 people their lives.
Let's look at Section 3, Relief and Rescue Operations.
With hundreds of lives literally hanging in the balance and a highly toxic cloud spreading fast, let's examine how emergency services responded. This official statement from the police perfectly summarizes the devastating domino effect that forced a full-scale rescue mission. It confirms exactly what we just walked through: the EV sparking, the ignition of the petrol vehicles, and that lethal upward travel of smoke right into the residential corridors. Knowing this, rescue teams had to adapt their strategy on the fly. I mean, they couldn't just fight the flames, they had to pull people out of a toxic cloud.
So how do you actually pull off a physical rescue when the main stairwells are compromised by thick black smoke? Well, the fire services and police had to get super creative. They used hydraulic platforms to reach the upper windows, but get this, they actually ingeniously placed ladders horizontally between adjacent buildings. This allowed for an aerial evacuation, literally bridging residents away from the toxic smoke over to the safety of a neighboring rooftop. Supported by a heavy police presence managing the crowds, they successfully evacuated over 100 trapped individuals using these tactics.
Now for Section 4, Chief Minister and Administration's Action.
The sheer magnitude of this inferno, The dramatic rescues and the tragic loss of life caught the attention of the state government almost instantly. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath took cognizance of the disaster right away. He basically ordered local officials to rush to the spot and expedite all the relief efforts. And it wasn't just about putting the fire out either. The clear mandate was to make sure anyone severely injured got the best possible medical treatment immediately. He also directed the administration to maintain strict vigilance and keep monitoring the relief operations so that absolutely no one was left without help.
As we wrap up today's explainer, we really need to look at the broader picture here. The Mamura Inferno wasn't just some random accident. It was a compounding failure triggered by a single charging vehicle in a shared, poorly ventilated space filled with other combustible stuff. So, I'm going to leave you with a pretty sobering question to think about. Are the EV charging stations in your building's parking lot truly safe from starting a similar chain reaction? Take a good look at your own community's safety protocols, because as we've clearly seen today, understanding your layout and the risks can quite literally be a matter of life and death. Thank you so much for joining me for this breakdown. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.